people affected by what's being described as the biggest treatment disaster in NHS history are demanding they receive the same financial support as patients in England. One group has told the BBC that unlike other regions, there's a lack of progress here around ensuring patients receive additional payments. Our health correspondent, Marie-Louise Connolly, has more on this. So the contaminated blood inquiry affected thousands across the UK, including over 100 here. So what happened, Marie-Louise?
Yeah, just a reminder, Seamus, in the 1970s and 80s, people with haemophilia and other bleeding disorders were given blood products infected with HIV and hepatitis viruses. It was the result of a new clotting treatment intended to make their lives better, but ended up ruining so many innocent lives. A public inquiry which is underway and which sat in Northern Ireland earlier this year heard that around 3,000 people have died as a result. And while those involved are fighting for the truth to be told about how such a disaster was allowed to happen, we're reporting today that people here are fighting for the same payments as their counterparts in England. Now, back in April, Theresa May, then Prime Minister, announced a financial uplift for those in England. That uplift for one group of patients means a difference of around £14,000 annually. So it is considerable. I've been speaking to some of those affected. And here's Conor McIlwrath.
Well, the difference is huge. There's £14,000 of a difference. That's almost a life-changing amount of money to normal people. The security's not there for our family, for our loved ones, because there's no bereavement payment if something happens to us. We can't get life insurance, so where is our security going forward? And it's down to geographical location, because we were all treated with the same blood from the same pot.
So have he and others been in contact with the authorities here?
Yes, they have been in contact with the Departments of Health and Finance. They are due another meeting, I understand, with the Permanent Health Secretary Richard Pengelly in December. But Paul Kirkpatrick says they have no confidence in the current system and working with the civil servants, and they feel they may become another forgotten group in Northern Ireland.
It's been a year since Sir Brian Langstaff asked for the government to intervene. In England, they intervened in April, and as we stand today, there's no movement within Northern Ireland. We're getting a lot of sympathetic letters from both the government and the politicians, but as it stands today, both the Department of Health, led by Richard Pengelly, and the Department of Finance, led by Sue Gray, haven't acted. They've talked about it, they support us, but they haven't acted.
Sir Brian Langstaff, Seamus, is the chair of the public inquiry. While still ongoing, he has taken the unusual step of speaking out and saying that all patients should be treated the same.
An overall picture of relentless hardship for many. It's now just over a year ago since I wrote to the Minister for the Cabinet Office calling for decisive action to be taken to alleviate this.
So what's being said here?
Well, referring to the English uplift, the Department of Health here said there were no extra resources made available here as a result of the English announcement. The department said while the schemes are now different in the 4 UK countries, the Department of Health in Northern Ireland is now working with colleagues elsewhere to explore what can be done to take forward the principle of parity of support. But Seamus, we should stress it has already happened in England, and those living in Scotland do receive considerably more as well. Meanwhile, the Department of Finance told me that the Northern Ireland budget for next year hasn't been set, and this very important issue, it says, will be part of its budget discussion.
What are those affected then saying about this needing to be dealt with quickly?
Yeah, let's leave the final word with Paul Kirkpatrick. He says it's a scandal, they've been waiting a long time, and now that they're fighting over money, it's just like another stab in the back.
As we talk today, on average in the UK, there's one person dying every 4 days due to the contaminated blood received in the early 80s.
Paul Kirkpatrick.